What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Market Mentor Ventures channel. My name is Dahuda Hunter, aka the Market Mentor. A lot of people have been debating whether or not to go with that phrase, sell in May and go away, but that might be the wrong question to ask. What's more important is what is currently in your portfolio. Is it in alignment with the current market and where things are going? May looks nothing like the historical data that it suggests, and I'm going to show you why. Let's take a look. So if you guys have been following me, as you know, the Stock Traders Almanac tracks the 5 indexes. And as we see here, for the midterm year average, because we currently are in a midterm, the Dow Jones changes negative 0.6%, S&P 500 is negative 0.7%, NASDAQ is negative 0.8%, the Russell 1K is 0.1%, and the Russell 2K is negative 1%. But one thing that all these indexes have in common for the month of May is that they have all finished the month up. You see Dow Jones and the S&P 500 since 1950 has finished up 46 times. The NASDAQ since 1971 has finished up 33 times. And then the Russell 1K since 1979 has finished up 32. The Russell 2K up 29. But it's also important to take into account that the Almanac was built on a market where 500 companies actually moved the index. Just 20 years ago, the top 10 holdings in the S&P 500 accounted for about 18 to 23% of the market. Today, 4 companies can account for just 18% of the market. For example, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, just those 4 companies alone make up about 18% of the market. So as you can see, it's a completely different market from what it has been in the past. This is a lot more concentrated. So it's important to understand that historical averages may be less predictive and why you should use context when gathering your data. Now let's take a look at how the macro environment is looking right now. So let's take a look at the most recent jobs data. April jobs, they were expecting to add 55,000 and they actually added 115,000 jobs. Now, despite the beat, it's also important to note that the revised job numbers for March was 185,000. So that shows month over month, there's been actually a deceleration in jobs added to the market. There's also another important report on the broader unemployment measure that focuses on those who are part-time and may not be able to find full-time work. That number actually jumped 8.2%. So despite beating the headlines, there still shows some caution there. We also see that the labor force participation has also dropped down to 61.8%, and that hasn't happened since 2021. That's also a key point to take note of. And then you layer that on top of the inflation data that we have coming up on May 12th. Now, last month, inflation data reported 3.3% on inflation over a 12-month basis. And we currently have analysts projecting moving closer to 4% for the month of April. Keep in mind that the spike in inflation in March was also related to that 21% spike in gas prices, which was a result of the conflict that's going on in the Middle East that is actually still continuing today. With that being said, in the last Fed meeting, the Feds voted 8-4 to hold rates steady. Not to say that rate hikes are coming, but we're at a point where it's definitely not unthinkable. Also, keep in mind, we do have a new Fed chair leader coming in this month as well. And then lastly, with the current environment, the S&P at all-time highs, JP Morgan priced in a 35% chance of recession. That's a different risk versus being selectively positioned in quality names that have strong earnings. So where is smart money pointing to right now? The story hasn't changed. The AI infrastructure is still the main play currently at the moment. And NVIDIA made an announcement in March on where the money is moving to next. Let's take a look. So here we see NVIDIA from their conference to invest $2 billion into Coherent to expand supply, deepen R&D, and advance US-based manufacturing. Who is Coherent? Coherent, they are the global photonics leader. At their event, they unveiled their Spectrum X and Quantum X silicon photonics networking switches, which enables AI factories to connect millions of GPUs across sites while drastically reducing energy consumption and operational costs. And then not only that, we see here a networked ecosystem. It shows who's included in this ecosystem. We have TSM, Browave, Coherent, Corning, Fabrinet, Foxconn, Momentum. So NVIDIA literally just told us where that money is going to next, and it's to that photonics sector. We already saw what happened in memory. We saw SK Hynix record revenue. We saw Micron nearly 3x its revenue in just 1 year. And now NVIDIA just gave you the keys to where they are going to next and how they will be helping the company and just the whole AI infrastructure as a whole. Wells Fargo is also actually calling 2026 the year of photonics momentum, with the total addressable market possibly hitting 10 to $12 billion by 2030. So that's something to take into account. So how am I reading all of this together, and where does that leave us for May? The sell in May thesis or theory doesn't apply if you're already positioned in the AI infrastructure. The photonics build out is just another phase or another chapter within that same trade. But what I'm not going to be doing is chasing SPY at all-time highs at the moment. With the macro backdrop, wages cooling, inflation reaccelerating, new Fed chair coming in, it leaves little margin for error. What I will be doing is paying attention to specific key levels on those companies that NVIDIA mentioned in their conference, Coherent, Lumentum, and still Micron, because the memory story isn't over. All that is going to be in the roundtable. I'll leave the link in the description for you guys so you can see how we identify where support zones are for these companies. And then I also gave the members a space that I feel like is not getting the same airtime right now, and we should be paying attention to it while it's still early. And remember, this is for educational purposes only, not financial advice. That's what I got for you guys this month. Peace.